Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something maybe a little unexpected.
Yeah,
Morning routines and small talk.
that's right.
We're going to uncover how these seemingly small things can make a big difference in your day and even your relationships.
Yeah, we're going to bust some myths and give you some practical tips you can use right away.
Okay, so let's start with morning routines.
Okay.
I have to confess, mine is a bit of a work in progress.
Yeah, huh?
Some days it's smooth sailing. Other days it feels like I'm running a marathon just to get out the door.
Right.
But I'm really curious about the science behind why having a good morning routine matters.
Well, what's fascinating is that a structured morning routine isn't just about checking things off a list. It's about setting yourself up for success from the inside out.
Okay.
When you wake up at the same time each day, you're actually regulating your body clock,
Right.
which improves the quality of your sleep.
And you know what better sleep means?
What's that?
More energy, better focus,
Yeah.
feeling like a human instead of a zombie.
Exactly. And less stress throughout the day, too. It's like a domino effect, starting with that consistent wake-up time.
Okay, I'm sold on the benefits, but what are the actual steps involved in creating a great morning routine?
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, while your ideal routine will be unique to you, there are a few key elements that have been shown to make a big difference. First things first, hydration.
Okay.
As soon as you wake up, reach for a glass of water. Think of it as a jump start for your metabolism and a way to rehydrate after a night of sleep.
Kind of like waking up your insides, right?
Exactly.
So water first, what comes next?
Then get your body moving.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a full-blown workout. Even a short walk around the block or some stretching can get your blood flowing and wake up your body and mind.
I can definitely see how that would help clear the morning fog.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got hydration and movement. What else?
This one might surprise you.
All right.
Take a few minutes for mindfulness or meditation. Even just 5 minutes can make a world of difference in reducing stress and increasing your mental clarity.
So it's about finding a moment of calm before the day's chaos.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
I know.
I could use more of that. What about breakfast? Should we be factoring that into our morning routine?
Absolutely. Think of breakfast as fuel for your brain. A healthy, nutritious breakfast will give you sustained energy and set you up for better focus and decision-making throughout the day.
Interesting. So we're not just feeding our stomachs, we're feeding our brains too. Makes sense. Anything else we should be thinking about for our mornings?
Last but not least, take a few minutes to plan your day, look over your schedule, prioritize your tasks, and set some clear goals for what you want to accomplish. It sounds simple, but this can seriously reduce feelings of overwhelm and keep you on track for a productive day.
Okay, so we've got hydration, exercise, mindfulness, breakfast, and planning. That's a pretty solid morning routine starter kit.
It is.
But what about those of us who might be feeling a little overwhelmed trying to fit all of that, and any advice on how to make it work?
You bring up a great point. It's not about cramming everything in or trying to achieve perfection. The magic happens when you find what works best for you.
Okay.
Start by incorporating 1 or 2 elements that resonate with you and build from there.
So it's about finding what feels good and sustainable, not just adding another item to our to-do list.
Okay, that's super helpful. Ready to shift gears and talk about small talk?
Absolutely, let's dive in.
You know, I used to think small talk was just pointless filler conversation, but I've started to see it differently.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
But small talk has a hidden power that we often overlook. It's not just about filling awkward silences. It's about building connections, strengthening relationships, and smoothing out our interactions with others. Think of it as social lubrication.
Okay. I like that social lubrication. So if our listeners are looking to level up their communication skills, mastering the art of small talk could be a secret weapon. Absolutely. Small talk is the foundation for building stronger relationships and having those deeper, more meaningful conversations down the road. It helps us find common ground and build rapport.
All right, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What are some of those classic small talk topics that always seem to come up?
Well, you can't go wrong with the weather. It's something we all experience, and it's a safe and easy way to start a conversation.
You're right. Beautiful day, isn't it? It's a classic for a reason. What else?
Current events can be a good conversation starter, too. Asking about a local event or a recent news story can spark a lively discussion.
Though maybe avoid anything too controversial if you're just getting to know someone.
Good point. Sticking to lighter topics at first is a good rule of thumb. Of course, there's always work or studies.
Right.
It's a natural point of connection, especially if you're in similar fields.
Oh, yeah. Big deadlines this week always gets a reaction. How about hobbies?
Hobbies are great because they offer a glimpse into someone's passions and interests. Asking about someone's favorite books, movies, or weekend activities can uncover shared interests and lead to a more engaging conversation.
And you might even get some great recommendations. Speaking of recommendations, travel is always a fun topic.
Definitely travel stories. Let people share experiences, learn about different cultures, and bond over their love of exploring new places.
So we've got the weather, current events, work, hobbies, travel. It's like the small talk starter pack. But why do these topics tend to work so well? What makes them so effective for getting conversations going?
Well, what's interesting is that these topics all have a few things in common.
Okay.
They're generally safe, relatable, and provide an easy entry point for conversation without requiring too much personal information upfront.
Okay.
It's about building comfort and trust gradually.
That makes sense. No one wants to dive into the depths of their soul 5 minutes after meeting someone.
Right.
But let's be real, small talk can feel awkward sometimes. I know I've had my fair share of nervous stumbles and awkward silences.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
It's perfectly normal to feel a bit nervous, especially in new situations.
Right.
The good news is there are things you can do to navigate those moments with more grace and ease.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are your top tips for making small talk less awkward?
First and foremost, remember to breathe.
Okay.
When we get nervous, we tend to hold our breath, which just makes things worse.
Right.
Taking a few deep breaths can help calm your nerves and center you.
Sometimes the simplest things are the most effective. So breathe. Got it. What else can we do?
Don't be afraid to switch gears if the conversation starts to stall.
Okay.
Maybe you mentioned something about your weekend plans earlier. Try circling back to that and see if it sparks a new thread.
So it's like having a mental list of conversation starters you can pull from if things get quiet.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip.
Okay.
Asking follow-up questions is key. It shows you're genuinely interested and listening to what the other person is saying.
So instead of just saying, oh, that's cool, after someone mentions their hobby, I could ask something like, how did you get into that?
Perfect example. And most importantly, don't be afraid to share something about yourself, too.
Okay.
It creates a sense of reciprocity and can really spark a genuine connection.
Don't be afraid to share something about yourself. It can spark a connection. I'm going to write that one down. It's a good reminder that small talk is a two-way street. All right, we've covered a lot of ground on morning routines and small talk today. It's amazing how much there is to learn about these seemingly simple parts of life.
I agree. And you know what's really interesting?
What's that?
I think there's a surprising connection between these two seemingly unrelated topics.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. What's the connection?
It all comes down to intentionality. When you create a morning routine, you're being intentional about how you start your day, setting yourself up for success.
Right.
And with small talk, you're being intentional about connecting with others, building relationships, and fostering a sense of community.
Wow, you're right. I never thought about it that way, but it makes so much sense. It's not just about going through the motions. It's about bringing awareness and purpose to those everyday interactions. It's like both morning routines and small talk are small investments that can have a big impact on our day.
Precisely. And those returns can range from increased productivity and reduced stress to stronger relationships and a greater sense of belonging. They may seem small, but their impact is anything but.
So if we were to distill all of this down to one key takeaway for our listeners, what would it be? What's the one thing you want them to remember from our deep dive today?
I think the most important takeaway is that even seemingly insignificant actions can create a ripple effect throughout your entire day. By making small but intentional choices in your morning and in your interactions with others, you can create a more positive and fulfilling experience for yourself and those around you.
I love that. It's empowering to know that we have the power to shape our days and our interactions in such a meaningful way. All right, ready for our final thought-provoking question? I think this one will really get our listeners thinking.
Bring it on.
Okay, listeners, here it is. Think about this. What's one small change you could make to your morning routine or your approach to small talk that would have a positive ripple effect throughout your day?
Yeah, it could be something as simple as adding 5 minutes of meditation to your morning, or consciously making an effort to ask one more follow-up question in your next conversation. Small tweaks can lead to big changes.
It's those little tweaks that can sometimes make the biggest difference. So simple, yet so powerful. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into morning routines and small talk. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired to level up my mornings and my conversations.
Me too. It's been a great conversation, and I hope our listeners are walking away with some valuable insights and a renewed appreciation for the power of starting the day strong and making those seemingly insignificant connections.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you on our next episode.
Sounds good. Yeah, it really is amazing how much power we have to shape our experiences,
I know.
even with small adjustments.
I love how you framed it. It's not about needing a complete life overhaul, but about making small intentional choices that can lead to big changes. It's like that butterfly effect thing we always hear about.
Exactly, and the beauty of it is that those small changes will look different for everyone. What works for one person might not work for another, and that's perfectly okay. It's all about finding what resonates with you and helps you create a more positive and fulfilling experience.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into morning routines and small talk, I'm curious to hear if anything particularly surprised you while we were exploring these topics.
You know what surprised me most was the interconnectedness of it all. We often compartmentalize different aspects of our lives, but when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, you realize everything is connected. How you start your day influences how you interact with others, and those interactions in turn shape your overall well-being. It's a beautiful cycle.
That is a powerful realization. It's a reminder that even seemingly small actions can ripple outward and create a positive impact on our lives and the lives of those around us. Well said. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we sign off?
Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep learning. There's always something new to discover about ourselves and the world around us. And remember, even the smallest steps can lead to incredible journeys.
Beautifully said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. We hope you've surfaced with some valuable insights and a renewed appreciation for the power of starting your day strong and making those seemingly insignificant connections.
Remember, even the smallest actions can have a big impact.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.